Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel for this sit down reset for June. I am so excited that June is here. I have my bouquet of flowers, which I actually got at Walmart. I got 2 of them and they were absolutely beautiful. Anyways, I'm getting already distracted. Wow. Anyways, we're going to reset for the month of June. We're going to be going over highs and lows and like overview, then goals, and then books. So if you're new here, hi, my name's Alice. I love to chat about money and show you a little bit about my life. Today is a life video, so if you're interested in that, don't forget to subscribe. Stick around. This channel has been growing so fast, you guys. I'm like so incredibly grateful that you're here. I honestly can't believe it. My drink of choice today is water because most of my days my drink of choice is not water, and that's the issue. But anyways, let's get into the overview and highs and lows of May. Alrighty, so May overall it's neither good nor bad. It was very enjoyable and there were some very unenjoyable parts of it as well. So May was a month full of baking. I got really into baking this month, lots of gardening, hanging out with my cats outside. The weather's been absolutely beautiful, but we've also gotten some rain, which has been great. So yeah, it was great in that sense. Flip side, May was also a month of, and I feel like I'm always talking about this, but my period was very bad. I feel like my hormones have randomly gotten super intense lately. It feels like I'm back being in like high school or like a teenager when they're just like so incredibly intense. Ibuprofen's barely cutting it. I have to use the heated blanket. I can't sit, I have to lay down and stuff. So even if my period is really painful, I'm just really grateful that I have it because I know it's vital to my health. But anyways, couple quick highlights of the month were that we hosted a barbecue for my husband's birthday party and it was so incredibly fun. We like went to the Dollar Tree to get toys because a lot of our friends have kids, and so that was great to just like both parents and kids were having a really fun time. And when we do barbecues, we do only hot dogs, no hamburgers, because I just genuinely do not like hamburgers at all. I think there's one place in Oregon, it's called Killer Burger, and I will eat their hamburgers, but everywhere else I'm just not really interested. Like I've always hated them. I think I've had only like 3 hamburgers my entire life. I don't know if I'm the only one out there who likes hot dogs 1,000 times more than hamburgers, but if you do, we gotta stick together, you guys. Another high that's just made me super happy is obviously buying flowers and gardening. I feel like it's a cherry on top when we garden because our cats also love to be out there with us. This is not a high, but our cats have been peeing in our garden box and it kind of killed a cucumber plant, but then like the cucumber plant got ripped out by someone else. So the sunshine and the long days don't automatically make my mental health like absolutely amazing and cured. I feel like the sun makes me more mentally robust in the sense that something that is sad or something bad happens to me and it's not nearly as bad because the sun is shining. That's just an overall benefit of it being summertime. Not happy about that. Hormones all over the place, but again, with it being summer, it's just not as bad as if I was like cooped up inside and it was like dark by 5 p.m. I am very interested to hear your guys' highs and lows, so definitely put those in the comments down below. Okay, let's go on to our goals. Let me share my screen. For financial goals, we already checked that one off, that we refinanced the house. It has made such a huge difference in our monthly finances. We went from paying $3,222 to now we pay $2,606. So that is an over $600 difference every single month, and it's been absolutely game changing. When we bought our house, it felt like the biggest financial mistake of our life because people literally in the hills of Utah with their McMansions are paying less than we do for our mortgage if they bought like a while ago and have a really good interest rate or something. But I'm really grateful that we decided to still buy our house and that we did capitalize on the lower interest rates briefly. My next one is a hobby goal, and that is to write a book. So I am actually very surprised that I have not been writing at all recently. Okay, wait, no. I have been writing a lot. I love writing poetry, and I just feel like that's been coming to me more. I love the idea of writing a book. I wouldn't be surprised if I like continue keeping on with this goal. I'm gonna keep it on here. Hobby goals basically are just kind of to make sure that I'm doing my hobbies. I, for one, am someone who cannot just take away scrolling. I have to replace it with something else. Whether I'm writing a book or I'm writing poetry, songwriting, anything creative, that's super important to me. If a hobby is not scrolling, you kind of have to build up endurance for it. And so I'm really grateful that I do have the hobby of writing in general. I also write a ton for my job because I'm a copywriter. But yeah, basically I'm not really working on this specific goal right now. but it's still blessing my life in the sense that I'm writing, which makes me happy. Okay, the next goal is financial. Increase the emergency fund. That's going to be over all 4 quarters. Let's see where we're at. So we're currently at $23,000. We've just been putting $1,000 every single month into that so that we can get to $30,000 by the end of the year. And I am almost positive, but I need to do the math again. I'm pretty sure $30,000 is a complete 6-month emergency fund. I am not going to lie to you guys. I did set that number thinking it just sounds like a great round number, and it's become a very boring financial goal. We just do, I'm not going to say just, because $1,000 a month is still a ton, but it's not like a very crazy, I'm not like $30,000 in 2 months, let's go. It's like over the course of the year. 12 months is a long time. Okay, our next goal is financial as well, and that is to try to invest $40,000 this year. I did the math to see where we'd be by the end of June if we kept doing what we've planned on doing, which is our automated like 401ks through both of our works, and then also our automated Roth IRA contributions. And with that, we are super close to being halfway to $40,000. $40,000 was a stretch goal because I feel like if we try to invest 40K and then we get to like 37, that would still be so great. I constantly feel like investing is super important, but every time I invest, it feels like such a drop in the ocean, because when we talk about investing, we talk about numbers like $100,000 or like $1 million or $10 million, and that just seems so overwhelming. I am grateful that we are automating our investments and we are doing that every single month. It always feels like I'm not doing enough. For the next goal, which is a relationship goal that we're trying to do for the entire year, and that is $20 a month to surprise the other person. So lots of people have the goal to go on a weekly date night, which I think is such an amazing goal. But me and my husband, we do not currently have any kids, which means that we are hanging out all the time. We do go on a once a month out of house date, which is very fun. One person plans it, it's a surprise for the other person, and we rotate every month. But with the weekly date nights, we just didn't think that was really vital right now because we're hanging out all the time. We have dinner together every single night. We decided to implement the $20 a month surprise gift for the other person because that's just like a different love language. Dates are quality time. That's a great part of a relationship, but there's also like the gift surprise. I mean, this is probably a selfish goal. I set this goal for us, and one of my love languages is gifts. I'm interested to hear what your guys' love languages are. Yeah, mine is definitely gifts. Like, I'm a huge gifts person. I always have been. That's how I show my love, and that's how I also feel loved in return. I'm also kind of becoming a words of affirmation person. Like, if someone gives me a compliment, I'm like, time to pass out. Like, I'm so excited. Okay, the next goal is to take in-laws out for birthday dinner. So this is a new goal for this year with relationships, which I really love setting relationship goals because I feel like they're so easily satisfying because it always feels so good to connect with someone. So anyways, we're trying to take parents out for their birthday dinners, and this has been so incredibly fun. We've only done one so far because most of the birthdays are in July, but just so great to use the money that we make to do something that helps me become the person that I want to be. I just feel like it's like a super cool thing to be like, oh yeah, I take people out for their birthday dinners. Like, will we always do this because will we always have the money for it? Like, no. When we have kids, I'm not naive that our finances are probably going to get a little bit more strict or like a lot more strict. It's really happy that we can do it right now. Let's see, grow a garden for a hobby. That one is checked off. We did do that. The month of May was huge for gardening. We put in our garden boxes, or maybe we did this in March. I can't remember. But good news is our tomatoes are going crazy. They're huge. Cucumbers are going crazy, zucchini, bell peppers, but we have not gotten anything from them yet because I don't like know when the harvesting time actually is for that. Then we have tons of like carrots and onions, but I feel like everything is probably gonna become ready at the same time, and I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, what do we do with all this produce? Okay, and then another relationship goal, drive home for my parents' birthdays. I just really got to the point where I was like, you know what, family is so important, birthdays are so important. In college, I didn't have the time or the money really, but now that we're graduated and we both have full-time jobs, like this is really the thing to do. So we're super excited to drive home for my parents' birthdays. Oregon is like a full day's trip. I could see myself not driving at all because that is my like fatal flaw. What's it, like your villainous characteristic trait or whatever it's called? Like, that's not great of her, and it's really that I do not drive on road trips. The last one that we're going to be chatting about, because it's in Q3 still, is to save, oh, that's a Q3. Why do I want that in Q4? We want to have $4,000 saved by the end of this year for a baby fund. I don't want to say I'm an over planner because I feel like saving to have a kid is a pretty good idea. I don't know if everyone does that. We don't necessarily need to have $4,000 saved by the end of Q3. It's more of a Q4 goal. Yeah, we have about $2,500 in there, so that's pretty good. Okay, and now for the fun part, which is talking about what I read in June. Also, huge apologies if you guys are looking for like a ton of new books to read based on my reviews. I do read books a little bit later than normal. I find that if a book comes out, it can be so incredibly hard to get it from the library, especially the digital book on the Kindle. So I do sometimes read books. Like at one point I was reading every single book like that was popular 2 years ago, but I definitely have caught up now, and I'm reading books like, I would say like 4 to 6 months later after they become popular. So if you've heard of all those, I am so sorry. And speaking of books that have already come out and people have probably all already read, I read the book And Now Back to You by B.K. Borison. So this is the second book in the Heartstrings series. The first book was called First Time Caller, and I absolutely loved it. This was a solid 4-star read for me. The book followed 2 meteorologists in a huge like blizzard in Baltimore, Maryland. So the book series really does follow like people from this radio station. So I do love books that have unique jobs, and I love learning about jobs. Obviously it's not going to be perfect, but I do like kind of being in the world of like different kinds of jobs. I feel like I learned a lot about the weather in this book. Hopefully it's accurate. My only issue, and the reason this book was not a 5-star, is that it was a rom-com that was 450 pages. For me, I just feel like that's a little bit too much. It wasn't like a pure romance. It was a rom-com. Throughout the course of the book, it had created like 5 different plots, and at the end they were trying to tie everything together. And at one point I was like, I just want this to be over right now. But I did really enjoy reading it, and I do love just like being in Baltimore in the books because I've actually never been there before. I've never been to the East Coast before, which is wild. I've been to like Europe and Japan, Mexico. I've never been to the East Coast. Okay, the next book that I read was The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. So this was another 4-star read. It was exactly perfect for what I needed. So we ended up going to Barnes & Noble, and my husband loves to pick out books for me, and it's honestly like so fun. So I read this and it was exactly what I needed. Sometimes you need a book that is intellectually engaging, that expands your worldview, and then sometimes you need a book that you can just absolutely tear through and be distracted, and this book was that. I don't like to read too many books that are really difficult to read because I just find that sometimes I want to be purely entertained, and that was what this book did. So we follow our female main character and her like personal struggles with dealing with grief and a huge like 4-year breakup. Her family owns this plot of land, a campground or a farm or whatever, at Martha's Vineyard. The entire extended family is there for one of her cousin's wedding, and they're playing a game of assassin, which I had never heard of this game before. It's where you have like a person that you're supposed to target, and you have like a water balloon or like a water gun. I don't know. I've never played it before. It sounds really anxiety producing, but it was super fun to read about. It was kind of like a fun backdrop for us, like a rom-com. The reason I gave it 4 stars was because it was single perspective, which Emily Henry books are not dual perspective, so I know it can be done well, but this one I just felt like the love story is really touch and go because the male main character, like you could not really tell what his emotions were at all, so I was like confused the whole book. Just a little disclaimer on this book, it was extremely YA, which is great because then I could just absolutely tear through it super fast, and it was exactly what I needed at the moment. I think that the main characters were 20 or 21 years old. I originally thought they were 18 years old or 19 years old in high school, like just going into college. It was definitely very YA for sure. Okay, I'm super excited to talk about this book. I read The Anatomy of an Alibi by Ashley Elston, and she wrote one of my favorite thrillers of all time besides this one. She wrote First Lie Wins, and The Anatomy of an Alibi was a solid 5-star read. It was so incredibly good. So this is like a mystery thriller, except for I feel like a lot of thrillers are so depressing, so sad, and I'm like checking into my closet to see if a murderer is there. This book was not that at all. So it follows 2 women who team up together to uncover a secret, and then one of them finds her husband dead. This is all on the back cover. Multiple perspectives, tons of lovable characters, which I feel like is also very unique for a thriller. So many thrillers, it's like every single person you hate and they're evil. Like this book was not like that at all. Every single person, not every single person. There's a couple people where it's like, you're obviously someone that we should hate in this book. I really appreciated that the title of this book was absolutely spot on. It genuinely was about the perfect aspects of an alibi. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but when I was reading it, I was like, this is all clicking so well. It was an amazing mystery book, and I genuinely was like shocked at the twists and turns and everything. It wasn't like an anxiety producing intense thriller, if you like that. It was more low-key, but just so like, oh, who did this? Kind of like the show Psych, but like less comedy. I was engaged by the very first chapter, and if you guys have heard me talk about books before, I really struggle with the the exposition of books. I am so bored, but this book was so good. I hopped right into it and I absolutely loved it, which is why I loved her other book too, First Lie Wins, except First Lie Wins was extremely anxiety producing. I was like scared the whole time. Totally recommend it. I think it's really popular because it was a book of the month pick. I can't believe it has less than 4 stars on Goodreads though. It has like 3.99, but to me it was like 5 out of the park. It was so good. Okay, the next book I read was called An Academic Affair by Jodi McAllister, and again, I don't know if this one is really popular. I feel like I've heard about it before, but I feel like it's a 4-star, but it's a loaded 4-star because it was a 5-star until a couple things in the plot happened that kind of bothered me. But also, like, a 4-star means that I thoroughly enjoyed the book. It was entertaining, but sometimes it was just entertaining, or sometimes there was like one thing wrong with it. I feel like a 5-star, and a lot of people say this, is that like a 5-star is a feeling where it just gets you so excited, so energetic, like I can't stop thinking about the book. So if someone said this was like a solid 4-star, I would read the book, but like a 5-star is one where I'm just like obsessed about it and I can't stop telling everyone about it. Like, I told so many people about Anatomy of an Alibi, people at work, people in my family, texted it to the family group chat, everyone I could tell. I was so obsessed with it. So this book, we follow 2 people that have their PhD. They are trying to navigate the world of trying to get a job in academia, which I didn't realize was so incredibly hard. They are in like literary studies, so maybe that's also part of it, but they're also in Australia, which is super fun. So it is an enemies to lovers fake marriage. I don't think I've ever read a fake marriage. Oh, wait, no, I have. Anyways, yeah, it was amazing. The only reason I didn't do 5 stars, I was like absolutely engrossed in it. Like the middle part, I was so obsessed with it. But so sometimes the pacing was like extremely fast, skipping over things. And then sometimes it was super slow, all within the same chapter. But I loved being in like the world of academia, and I actually couldn't relax while I was reading the book. I was so stressed out because of the job insecurity in that industry. So, okay. And then the very last book that I read this month that I actually just finished this morning was called Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. It was so cute, you guys. Yeah, so I rated this 4 stars again. It was a magical realism, cozy fantasy. It was basically set, I think, in the 1920s in Montreal. A lady has a cat shelter and she kind of teams up with a magician in a society where magicians are like, I think it might be illegal or looked down upon, like really frowned on. Struggled to be engaged in it for the first couple hundred pages, which is always a little tricky, but I ended up thinking that it was so cute in the end. I think the real issue for me was that it would be the perfect fall read, but someone gave me the book. They like handed it to me and said, you need to read this, you'd love it. I actually think I would have loved it even more if it was in the fall. I recommend reading this if you want a cozy book. I rated it at 4 stars because again, it was entertaining, but it wasn't like absolutely psycho amazing. I'm just gonna tell everyone about it. Alrighty, and that is it. Thank you guys so much for joining me today on my June life reset. I hope that you guys have just the best month ever. I will see you guys later. Bye.